Good afternoon, evening, or morning, whenever you're watching this. I am so glad to be back to share something with you. Today, I'd like to tell you about my grandson, whose name is Ryan. Ryan is 21 years old and just turned 21 last week. And he is an absolutely marvelous young man, and so I thought I would share about him. This might be one where you need the pause button, and if so, I understand, you know. Grandmothers can go on about these very special people in their lives. So I will start. I don't always remember the exact age people were when they did these things, but I can do, you know, an approximation. So Ryan was a baby, and his mother called me at night and I asked me to come over. I'm going like, what is the problem? And she said that Ryan had put a marble in his nose. I thought, a marble? Who does that? So anyway, I went over. She took him to the doctor. The doctor was able to get some tweezers and just remove it, and no problem. When he started to talk, he had this little gravelly voice in a way, and he would, at church, the teenagers would love it because he would go, "What's up?" And they would just crack up. They just loved it, and it would have him to say it again. Poor little Morgan wanted part of the glory, so she tried it. "What's up?" Didn't work. We're going like, let's just let Ryan have that, okay? That'll work. They would have Bible studies at their home when he was a little older, and Joe, his stepfather, because Ryan's a little boy, wants him to be able to understand and put things as simply as he could. So he had taught about the Tower of Babel, and at the end asked Ryan, what it was about. He said, well, God confused the language so that they could not build the temple, the tower. He said, no, okay. I didn't really need to make it all that simple. There was a time when Ryan was, I would say, probably 3, is my guess. And his mother went somewhere, and his grandfather and I shared his care. So I imagine Ryan at the end of this time was like, oh, thank you, Mom, for coming home. How did you survive these people? So with his grandfather, they were getting ready to go somewhere, and he told Ryan, tie your shoes. And Ryan said, I don't know how. And his grandfather was like, you are just too smart and too old not to know how to tie your shoes. We're going to fix that. And so he proceeded to teach him. And then at the end of the time, he set him up on a chair on a table and had Ryan to tie his shoes, and we all applauded because he learned. Another thing that Ryan didn't like was to have a shirt buttoned all the way up to the top. It bothered his neck. So he was going someplace. I was okay with it not being all the way, but his grandfather said, no, that's not how you wear this shirt, and he buttoned it all the way. Another thing was that Ryan did not particularly like to eat anything green, and that was another task that his grandfather undertook. With me, I brought him home, and he was going to take a shower. So I turned the shower on, got him in the shower, and handed him a washcloth. What's this for? I said, to wash yourself. Well, he didn't know what to do with it really, so we took care of that. And then I told his mother, I said, you may want to check because maybe he's just getting wet. Well, when I spoke to Ryan last week, 18 years later, he said that he used a loofah. Well, he didn't mention that at the time, so he's probably hygiene better than I thought it was. However, when he got out, he wanted to put on the same clothes that he'd just taken off. Not only that, he was going to sleep in them and probably wear them the next day. No, that's not going to happen. So, Morgan is a year older than Ryan, and when she went to kindergarten, she learned about Martin Luther King and some of the civil rights struggles. When she returned home, she was sharing this with Ryan and telling him about some of the things that happened. Now, Ryan and Morgan are mixed, and Ryan used to have the curliest little blonde hair. It's so cute. So, anyway, Morgan proceeded to tell him some of the things that had happened. And Ryan said with a very tremulous voice, "Are there white people in our world?" And Morgan just kind of looks at him like, "Yeah, Dad, Grandma Shirley, Grandpa Tony." But he was so unnerved, he had to sleep with Jennifer and Joe for a little bit because he was scared about the white people in the world. So that was something he needed to overcome. Now, when he went to kindergarten, on his first day of kindergarten, when he came home, his mother asked him, "So how was it? What did you do?" And he said, they told stories and they sang songs, that kind of thing, colored. He said, "Oh, cool, Then I heard him talking to his dad when he asked him about kindergarten. And then Ryan said, that there was a little boy that peed on the floor in the bathroom, and I think someone threw up. Now, what I thought was interesting was that Ryan knew his audience. He knew his audience and who would like what story. So I thought that's pretty smart for a kindergartner. And you may hear me say this a lot, he is smart. So when he was in middle school, he had to memorize a chapter in the Bible. And I don't remember what chapter it was, but he had to memorize it chapter and verse. Now, by that I mean, I know the Lord's Prayer. But if you ask me to say the Lord's Prayer, verse 5, I couldn't do it. To tell you which one without, going through, and then I still might miss it. Whereas Ryan, whatever it was, you could say what verse, and he could tell you what it was. I mean, again, so intelligent. Use a different word this time. He was also a voracious reader. He liked to read nice, big, thick books. It was really great. He remember particularly the Hunger Games. And he had a real thing about Katniss. He had her poster in his room. And so he told me about it, and so I read the Hunger Games so I could discuss it with him. But he always read nice sized books and understood them and enjoyed them. He had, he was very respectful also, At one point, we were watching the movie Ratatouille. Rather, I should say, I was watching Ratatouille, and he was playing a video game. But I was sitting there, and I said, "Ryan, this is so nasty. The ideas of rats going in and cooking food," and he's on his video game. "Grandma Ann, it's a cartoon." I said, "I know that. I know that." I said, "But the idea of rats living in the attic of a restaurant, nobody's killing them, and there's rat poop all over. Grandma Ann, it's a cartoon." I said, "I know that, Ryan, but the plague, and rats. Grandma Ann, it's a cartoon, and those are not the kind of rats that cause the plague." But he was very respectful. He, didn't say anything bad about me, just kept reminding me that it was indeed a cartoon. He also went through a long period of time where he spoke in extremes. So if he went to the movies and it was a good movie, it wasn't just a good movie, was the best movie he ever saw. Or if it was not, it was the worst movie he ever saw. So it was like, so I said, "Well, you don't need to see any more movies then." I mean, So everything was the best. It was the worst. There was no in between, no good, no okay, So now he is a senior at Fordham University. Oh, wait, I started to skip something. I can't do that. When he, with his theater, when he was little, he came out of Sunday school, and his mother said, "Tell Grandma Ann what you learned in Sunday school." And he said, "Once there was a giant, and David got a rock and hit him in the head, and he fell down." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Tell me again." And he told me, and he did it exactly the same way. I love that. I really did. There was another performance, however, that was not so stellar, and that was at the library where he was crying, he wouldn't go on, and his mother had to go up to the stage. This is probably like a YouTube moment. He didn't want to wear the costume or the hat, whatever it was, and they did allow him to perform without it. So, my daughter took my grandchildren away from me and went to Connecticut. And so therefore I didn't get to see any of his plays until his senior year. And so I went there to Connecticut, and I saw his play In the Heights. He played the dad in the play, which is now a movie, I believe. And hopefully the actor will be able to do it as well as Ryan did. But he was amazing. I found out he could sing too, as well as act. I was so proud of him. Also, I got to be there for his prom, and he looked so handsome in his outfit and went going out with his group of friends. It was a great time to be there. So now he is a senior at Fordham University. He doesn't stick marbles in his nose. He has excellent hygiene. He will button a shirt up to the top if it's necessary. The thing I'm not sure about, however, is the green vegetables. That's still a maybe. So, also, he was very compassionate. My dog, I had a cute little dog named Zoe, and she got killed in a pretty icky way. And Ryan was just so compassionate with me and caring, because it was very traumatic. So he's a very loving child. Now, there is one thing, I saved this for last. When he was little, if I kissed him and had on lipstick, he would do this. I said, "You cannot rub off a grandmother's kiss. All you have done is rub it in, and when you turn 18, it's going to pop out like a carpet stain." So, when he turned 17, I thought, what am I going to do? So I had several options, some of which required that he be knocked out on the night before, such as getting a stamp made with lip prints and putting them on his face and, upper part of his body, or getting a sheet and putting lip prints all over that and say that they transferred to the sheet. His mother suggested putting lip prints on a mirror that he looks at first thing when he gets up in the morning. So none of those worked for me. So what I did do is I wrote a little story for him. Now, I don't know if you know the story, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And Dorian Gray was someone who remained young forever, it seemed, and he was not a nice man. But there was a portrait of him in his attic. And every evil thing that he did went on that portrait, and he stayed looking young and handsome. So I wanted to give you that background if you had not seen it, so that it helps you to understand my story. So here is the story. It's called The Picture of Ryan Shearin. On August 10th, 1999, a wonderful boy was born to Jennifer and Michael Shearin. He was a blessing and a wonder to all of his family. He was a gifted actor and storyteller. He was funny, charming, and lovable. So lovable was he that the temptation to kiss him could not be resisted. For a while, this was no problem. However, the day came when he did not appreciate these terms of affection and would do his best to rub them off. His favorite grandmother on his mother's side told him that this was not possible. He had rubbed them in, and at 18, they would pop out like carpet stains. He, of course, did not believe her. Foolish boy. Through the magic of age progression photography, a picture was taken of what he would look like at 18. Unlike Dorian Gray, whose evil showed up on his portrait, the love expressed by kisses showed up on Ryan's portrait. He was very much loved by many lipstick wearers. All of the attributes that he possessed as a little boy have only been added to and magnified. He is still talented and funny and charming and lovable. More than being lovable, he is one of the most loving people I know. He continues to be a blessing to all those who are fortunate enough to know him and be a part of his life. Because he is only 18, there is so much time left for him to grow and fulfill his potential. Watch out, world. Ryan is here. Well, I hope you know Ryan. If you don't, maybe you will, or maybe you'll see him on the silver screen, as they say, or at an Academy Awards presentation getting Best Actor for whatever. If not, he's just a wonderful young man in making wonderful contributions to my world and to the world of those who know him. So thank you, and I hope you'll tune in again for another story. All right, you have a very blessed day. Bye-bye.